Hello there, everyone. Welcome back to TapCaf Transmissions, where tonight we're talking about something new. It's going to be Star Wars, a Star Wars episode. We don't do those too often. I'm your host, Corey. Joining me, as always, is my co-host, Justin EckhartsLadder. How are you doing today?
Pretty good, pretty good. Read two really phenomenal short stories today. Not classified as short stories, but they are very, very short stories. So I'm having a good one. How about you, young Corey?
Yeah, I too read some great short stories today, but then I also read uh, Zorba the Hutt's Revenge and Mission to Mount Yoda. And there's a lot to say here. I think there's usually with these with the kids books we don't have as much to dig into, but there was a lot of meat here that I think everyone's going to enjoy getting to break down on tonight's episode.
There's one line that Luke said that just made me laugh so much, but it's like it uses dated, non-politically correct language. Um,
I noticed a
so
lot of stuff like that, but I'm not entirely sure which.
actually, no, wait. Actually, I no, I'm incorrect. It's not politically incorrect language, but it's because he there's one line where he says, "We'll just have to prove that black bearded dwarf dead wrong," and I think that kind of sums up these two books quite well. Agree or disagree?
Yeah, I think that's kind of the experience for today. But we are talking about Jedi Prince books 3 and 4. So we got a double feature tonight. Before we get into that though, I don't know why every time I launch my ebook reader, it does the like NVIDIA overlay thing that pops up in the corner of the screen. Like
Use
I don't
Caliber.
need Libre.
Is that what it's called? Calibre.
No, it's probably Caliber.
It
But
might be. It's probably Calibre because isn't Libra or Libre
yeah,
like
that's why
French
I've always
Latin
gone with it
for?
with like the Libra. But anywho, yeah, I get the fucking Nvidia like shadow play activated just in case I need an epic replay of the last few seconds of the book.
Yeah. Just turning one page and like really aggressively, you gotta go back and capture that.
Yeah, so this is Zorba the Hutt's Revenge and Mission to Mount Yoda, which is how Grogu was conceived.
Mhm.
And but any news that's come out in the last few days? I guess Visions. We got the May 4th Star Wars Day release for it, which is actually sooner than I thought it would be.
Yeah, I was expecting after that. So that was kind of a pleasant surprise. We also got, I would say, the big news would also be Jedi Survivor got pushed back a couple months.
Yeah, 6 weeks, so a month and a half. How are you feeling about that? We haven't talked about it yet, but
I'm fine.
yeah, same.
Yeah,
March is
mind.
busy.
Yeah, I was actually pretty happy because it means that I can, like, I've got a couple trips in March, so
Yeah.
now I should be able to focus a bit better on the game once it comes out for my coverage. So
Yeah, we were going to be in a situation where it's Jedi Survivor coming out at the same time that we're getting to like the last episode of The Mandalorian as well as the end of Bad Batch, because I think that's all ending around the same time. It would have been a really packed couple of weeks, whereas now there's a bit more time in there. And I guess if Mando is what 8 episodes it usually is for the prior seasons,
yeah, it's been 8 episodes each time so far.
so that'll be all of March and April. We'll get Jedi Survivor at the end of April. Actually, not the end of March, but then we're getting into Vision season 2, basically the following week, I guess. If it's last week in April that the final episode of Mando is coming out. But they released all of the other ones in season 1 at the same time, right? It was a Tales of the Jedi kind of situation.
Yep. Yeah, they all came out at once, which
right.
I guess kind of makes sense considering they're all really different.
Yeah. And it'll probably be a summer without shows, and then we get into Ahsoka and Skeleton Crew to end out the year, but I'm not sure exactly when those will happen.
Yeah, I don't think anyone really knows yet, but we know that Ahsoka seems to be a little bit further along, so I'm going to assume that one comes first, and then Skeleton Crew. But who knows, really?
Yeah,
they could be canceled.
Yeah, we're what? We've got all of the shows that are probably going to come out from that initial slate of shows that have been announced. Are like we know they're far along in production. Like we have still Skeleton Crew, Ahsoka, and the Acolyte to come out of that initial announcement that Kathleen Kennedy did. But I don't think the Rangers of the New Republic, Lando. I think there was one other that's, unless I'm just thinking of Rogue Squadron.
There was the droids one as well. I don't think there was another live action show, but I could be mistaken.
Yeah. I guess there technically is Young Jedi Adventures as a show that's been announced since then, but not quite the same pile of stuff.
No. Yeah, I think the droids one is supposed to come out this year too, but I'm not sure. But yeah,
that came out in the 80s.
Well, what's the new droid show called?
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Oh, there's a new Star Wars droid show coming out. That I think it's live action, but I'm not sure. But yeah, so there's something coming. Yeah, I think it's with C-3PO, and I'm just looking at the list now. Oh, did you mention the Acolyte as well?
I did mention the Acolyte.
Yeah. So.
I will always mention the Acolyte.
Yeah, that's just still no idea what it's about, but more and more excited. Here's my question: have you been watching The Last of Us? That's kind of been the
haven't yet.
Talk of the town.
Dan and I are going to watch it. I've never played the game before, but I am looking forward to that. There's a lot of involvement from people that I like and other stuff on top of it just being a popular, good video game. So I've heard a bunch of good things. Hopefully this weekend we'll be able to watch it.
Yeah, I watched episode 1. It was pretty good. Mostly just trying to get Kelsey on board. But yeah, it's called Droid Story, by the way, and it's not supposed to come out until, I guess, 2025. So
okay.
A little off there. Yeah. That's like, what, 40 years after the first Droids? Did the first Droids come out like 85, didn't it?
Or was it later? I think it was after episode 6, so it has to be within a couple of years of that.
Any other news really you want to talk about? We got a few cool posters for The Mandalorian. I'm not sure if you saw those. One of them in particular was pretty rad.
I think I only actually saw the one with just The Mandalorian on it. So if there was other stuff, I think I missed it.
That was the main one. There was one with like Bo-Katan. The other kind of interesting news is, so we did get we mentioned this briefly. We did get the studios for Visions. I'll just read them off quickly. I don't know any of them really. There's Cartoon Saloon, Punk Robot, is that OMR Studio, Aardman, Triggerfish, Dart, Studio La Cachette, 88, and El Gueri. So that means no Studio Ghibli. And what's interesting is that Lucasfilm, I think it was Kathleen Kennedy and maybe Dave Filoni took a trip out there to see them. So I'm kind of wondering, like, maybe there's another project that's kind of on the go. I was kind of thinking about that today. And then just 25 minutes ago, Studio Ghibli did tweet out a picture of Baby Yoda. So
again, are they going to re-release Grogu and the Dust Bunnies or whatever?
The definitive edition.
This time it's an 8K.
Yeah. It's 2 minutes longer. We looped it for you.
They've got to be doing like a separate project. Like,
yeah, I think so. I mean, if they'd be willing to, then I think Lucasfilm would be very, very foolish not to work with them, because that's just, there's people who will watch anything they put out. Because everything they put out is good. So yeah.
There's people who would just watch a thing they did of Grogu lo-fi beating his way around a screen for a little while.
Yeah, I was one of those people.
We're probably not going to be able to talk about the Bad Batch again for a while, because you are going to be absent next week.
Yeah.
And then week after that as well, probably. So we've got the mid-season finale. Like, there's no time off, but it's still technically the two middle of the season episodes that are paired together. So I guess how are you feeling about the season leading up to that, especially with the last episode that just came out?
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed the last episode. One thing that I found kind of funny, and I talked about this a bit yesterday, is like I saw some people complaining about it, and it was initially meant to be a fucking 4 episode long Clone Wars arc.
Yeah.
How were they going to get 4 episodes worth of content out of that? It just reminds me of like the Mon Calamari arc, which was just, it felt painfully boring. And I know some people are tired of me ripping on the Clone Wars. I get it. I do like the show.
I learned from
But
Reddit
yeah.
actually a couple days ago that you and I hate the Clone Wars.
Oh, do we? Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. I wasn't aware that we hated it. I know we complain about some stuff in it sometimes, but
That's really weird considering I spent the last 2 podcast episodes talking about my season 7 rewatch, which I was doing for fun. But yeah, I actually thought it worked really well, or at least better as a 1 episode thing with the. I would have liked to visit Kashyyyk during the Clone Wars because that was the original intention. Obviously, it was made for the Clone Wars. It was one of those sort of forgotten story reels that never got completely finished. We did see a couple clips from it.
yeah, we had the Kinrath, like we saw the Kinrath 9 years ago. But I don't know if the story was quite the same, like because they reference like I think Filoni still treats that arc as having happened just kind of behind the scenes for the characters because they reference having gone to Kashyyyk before in the episode, and it's a reference to that.
But I looked it up, and like the main villain, the Trandoshan, had the same name in both of them. So it could be that like broad strokes still happened because you're right. They do kind of talk like they've been to Kashyyyk before. But like that also helps explain like why they're using separatist battle tanks and stuff. Yeah, I enjoyed it. What about you? And I'm looking forward. I'm enjoying the season so far.
Yeah, like I felt like the episode took a lot more steps in the directions of the things I was looking for that were kind of lacking from the prior episodes that people called filler or whatever. I didn't think that they were filler per se either, but this had a lot more explicit connection to like them figuring out what they want to do. We're having character growth that's beneficial for the characters. Like it didn't give Echo enough to work with, considering the start of the episode. I felt like it was just kind of a big tease for him, where it's like, okay, Omega's with Echo. I'm not gonna. I guess whatever. If you're listening to this right now and you haven't seen the episode, oh well. But yeah, Omega was with Echo on the station. I was like, okay, maybe they'll talk about something. And then nothing happened there. But then we did get Echo kind of advocating for how they needed to help the Wookiees, like taking that lead role that he also had in the Darrow arc, and that we just haven't seen much from him since then. So I was happy with everything that episode did. And yeah.
Yep. Okay. So shall we hop right into Zorba's Revenge?
I don't see why we wouldn't.
Hop right into it like a slug into a cloud city. So Zorba, as established by this book, is Jabba the Hutt's father.
Yeah.
And he is returning to Tatooine because he wants to see his son. And of course, Jabba has been strangled to death in a sad BDSM accident, not unlike Robert Carradine. And that's really disrespectful. I'm sorry. And
there's so many things wrong with what you just did.
Yeah, his was autoerotic asphyxiation. But which if you remove the auto part basically, but
and also like Leia wasn't into that whole situation. You can't really call it BDSM. Like BDSM community is very big on consent, and Leia was
right. That's 100% correct.
Apologize to the listeners, please, Justin.
I'm sorry, listeners, and I am sorry, BDSM community. Put the whips away. But yeah, so he wants to go visit Jabba. Of course, Jabba's dead. He gets angry. He barges in the cantina. He's looking for Leia. Add him to the list of Hutts who wants to kill Princess Leia. And yeah, that's kind of one plot line. And obviously, Princess Leia is also wanted by Trioculus, who wants to marry her. So we've got 2 opposing bad guy factions here. And I've got a feeling that they might come together in a really interesting way.
No.
Okay. And of course, where they come together, Cloud City, where Han Solo has also got his new space home.
Yeah, this was basically a book about a bachelor pad housewarming party for Han, and it was
Leia
weird.
Being there the whole time.
Like it is very 90s in that there's a lot of sexism at the start, and then there was a lot of focus on like the Bespin ozone layer and air pollution.
People be fucking droids, right?
Absolutely, that's clearly a thing that happened. That was probably the first thing that droids were invented for, but now they don't have to do that if they don't want to. But
Which is good.
they had haze, which they needed to Bespinize, so they called it braise.
Mhm.
And it's basically just like Bespin is smoggy as fuck because of just known Imperial weapons facilities that are like 50 feet away from Han's apartment, and they're all just like, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, it sounds like Han could have probably dropped like a thermal detonator on it, like if he timed it right. Like nobody thought of like calling in the New Republic, like five
Akbar
X-wings.
Akbar is being
Akbar's
ignored at Han's housewarming party. They're treating him like a fucking joke, so disrespectful. And
yeah.
then and nothing, like they're all just like, yeah, we know there's an Imperial weapons factory here. Eh.
Nobody likes it. Like, okay, maybe fucking blow it up. How about?
I do like that Lando is said to be the governor of Cloud of Bespin. It's not just like he's the administrator of Cloud City because he
Yeah.
fucking bought it. He's the planetary governor, and Jabba used to own the casino there conveniently, which Lando now also owns.
Yeah, we get it. We do get some Cloud City lore as well. We learn about the or not Cloud City lore, Bespin lore. We learn more about the planets. We learn more about the planet of Bespin itself. I imagine most of that was already established, but that was kind of fun.
Yeah, there's a lot of
Right.
stuff in these books that like got brought into wider lore later on, directly or indirectly. Like a lot of the Duros lore that ends up being in
that's
source books and the New Jedi Order actually does stick from that. That's from the next book, but still.
Wow, you're reading ahead?
We were supposed to read both tonight, Justin.
Oh, the next. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I mean, I enjoyed this first one more, mostly because I thought it was funnier. Like one thing I like is they get JDTs, which is Jawa something trading posts or something.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, we got to go to the JDT. I was like, is that like Star Wars' version of like the NEET, like not in education, employment, or training, or like is it maybe like a WASP? But I also like the idea that they turned. So Star Wars apparently does not have like intestate wealth transfer. Like you need to have a will apparently, or it's just game over. So Jabba dies without a will because Hutts are supposed to live forever or a long time. You never got around to it. Consider planning for your future now. So Jabba's palace becomes an old folks' home for a while, and basically it's also just kind of sitting there, just chilling. So I thought that was a really interesting bit of lore that contradicts pretty much everything else that we get about Jabba's palace.
Yeah, but this came first, doesn't it? Over a lot of that stuff. I guess not over some of the earlier Tales books, maybe.
Yeah,
This is 92.
Doesn't Heir to the Empire talk? Doesn't book one like at the very beginning talk about Jabba's palace? I know it talks about like Jabba's empire, but I don't. Maybe it doesn't mention the palace.
Isn't Heir to the Empire from like 94 though?
No, Heir to the Empire is 91.
Was it 91? Okay, because these started I think in 91 or 92 and ended in 92 or 93. So it's all around the same time.
Yeah, Heir to the Empire was like the very first though.
Okay. Well, I thought it was great commentary on the state of Ontario's old age care homes, where they're all just dilapidated and no one's actually funding them properly. And then they're trying to pass say like, oh, because it's a privately managed thing, it's not our responsibility. Like, come on.
Yeah, and the other option was just let them die, like let the old folks just die.
It did make the Tatooine seem like it had more of a planetary government.
I agree. Yeah, I was like, okay.
Expected.
Tatooine's pretty progressive. They get a palace, a literal palace full of brain spiders. I guess that part's not great, but they get a literal palace. They're like, what should we do with this? Let's use it for a social good. Like, and Canon Boba Fett moves in there, and he's just like slinging his shit around. Yeah.
Yeah, and it is the home for aging aliens, though, so there's like some implied segregation that's not very epic.
And I mean, it was kind of already that with like the monks, right?
Yeah. Well, it's do all the old date or all the people who move in, the retirees, do they have to become spider jars? Is that a prerequisite for living there?
I don't think it's a prerequisite. I think it's a happy revelation at some point.
So it's a thing that you're offered at some point when you've been there.
I
And
wouldn't say
then,
offered.
okay. Oh.
I think you get like Bib Fortuna at some point.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well,
because that's what happens to him in his Tales story. I think it's Tales of Jabba's Palace that happens to him.
we need to do those books at some point.
Oh
We
yeah,
can divide them into
those
half
books.
or a third or something.
They are actually, yeah, they are kind of quite long. Also, one thing I meant to talk about. There was shirts, the crew shirts for the Mandalorian season 3 they came out today, and one of them was Max Rebo lives. That's what it said on it. So probably just a joke, but maybe we'll see him in season 3.
Yeah, maybe something out. Like if you see him anywhere, you have to expect it to explode at this point.
Yeah.
If you walked into my house, or
the dude accidentally keeps firing his alt. So I didn't mean to click that button.
But we should go back to the beginning a bit, because we do open up with Luke and Ken going about their daily Star Wars lives, which is one of the nice things about these stories. It implies a longer period of time, and we see some of the daily life come through for these people. And they're talking about how they need to find a present for Han's housewarming, which is before we get to the droid fest of Tatooine. And it's Ken is the one who suggests a housekeeping droid, and Luke's opposition to this at first is like, I don't know, he's a bachelor, and
like, dog, are you serious? Like,
yeah, like Ken has to tell him, bro, it's not a wife, it's a housekeeping droid. Which the fact
you
that
don't know Han like the way I do. Although immediately she's like, "You're the cutest Krellian I've ever seen."
Well, like if you're having a conversation with someone and it goes, what if we buy them a housekeeping droid or a housekeeping service, and their thing is like, oh no, I don't think they want a wife. It's like, what are you thinking a wife is?
That's true. Yeah, it's one of, I'm sure you're going to talk about the other bit of sexism in this book. I also just found what I took away from that, and that yours is a great point too, is that they got their droids with them. So it's like, let's take our slaves to go buy some new slaves.
Yeah.
And our slaves are really into it because they're like, that's a sick idea.
I was picturing Kate as Rosie from the Jetsons.
Oh, me too, actually. That's exactly how I pictured her.
I didn't think about it until just now, but I was like, well, how have you been picturing these?
Yeah. Yeah, she's got, actually, I'm going to stop right there.
But did you pick up on how they were getting around when it's Luke, Ken, C-3PO, Kate, and R2-D2?
Yeah, the world's largest Y-Wing.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, R2-D2's not in the astromech slot. They say he's like in the co-pilot seat.
Yeah.
So like
Ken is in the astromech slot.
He's got the little Grogu dome he's peeking out of.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I did pick up on that, and it was a little great bit of
it's like a fucking clown car of a Y-Wing that pulls up the
it's just like a fucking pad. It's like a sedan or something, like, or they're all just like really squished in there. Like Ken's face is like stuck on the glass the whole time.
Yeah. So as you alluded to, when they finally get to Droid Fest on Tatooine, which is where you always want to go to buy the stolen secondhand droids from the Jawas.
Yeah, even though they were just at Bespin. They're like on their way to the party. They arrive at Bespin. They're like, what should we get? Droids. They're like, fuck it, we'll go back to Tatooine.
Yeah. We'll go about a third of the way across the galaxy.
Luke is like that guy who, like, he thinks his hometown's the best. Like, he thinks his hometown's the first one to have like an artistic, like, or like a small local brewery with a bit of personality. He's like, trust me, you guys, we gotta go back to Tatooine. They got the best droids. And everyone's like, this is garbage. It's like me whenever I'm talking about Halifax. And it's like, yeah, these things exist everywhere.
Yeah, someone going to Halifax, like, oh, you guys got to come. We've got the best luggage transportation system. And it's just Bubbles selling the stolen shopping carts.
Yeah. Because you won't believe it. We've got water and electricity in the city. Sometimes you get both at once.
But they get to Tatooine. They get out to Droid Fest, which they had to rent a land speeder to get out to, which they abandoned and hoped the insurance would cover it. No one rent to this fucking guy. Then he's like, "Oh, the secret intelligence service of the New Republic is going to pay for this. Don't worry about it." But
Yeah.
3PO, when they find Kate, and I feel like 3PO has made a few comments like this throughout the Jedi Prince books, but he's like, "Oh, I've never seen a female droid that's manufactured so well." And Luke's like, "Hey,
Looks like they're the
stop
exact fucking same.
yeah."
Yeah.
Which is like,
Looks
it's
like-
a good step up from his prior page comments about, I guess, wives being synonymous with housekeepers.
Yeah, it looks like this is a good reminder to do my annual wipe of C-3PO's Twitter likes. Oh, just Jordan Peterson, that's the only person you follow?
Well, yeah, but Ben Shapiro softblocked me.
Classic.
I told him his sister wasn't that hot. But so they get to the party, and like we said, Akbar is being ignored when fucking given his war stories about Battle of Endor, which happened probably last week. I think everyone in attendance was there as well. So
Yeah, Akbar's like talking about a buildup of like Imperial ships in the deep core, and like everyone's like, "Don't worry about it, it's all good."
And again, they're all aware that there's Imperials like 10 feet away from them. But the inciting incident in this book is that Kate, the new housekeeping droid that they give to Han, just falls out the fucking window while she's cleaning in the middle of the party.
Yeah, I was like, "Is she a spy or something?" She just fell, Doug. Yeah, it's kind of funny. The entire New Republic High Command, because Mon Mothma's there too, is in fucking Han's house, and like, I don't know. Like, I think your chance, even without Imperials in the system, I think your chance of dying there due to like a house fire or something is pretty goddamn high.
Yeah.
Like,
especially
who's
when the
the-
atmosphere sounds like it could go up in flames any second.
yeah, who's the designated survivor of like the New Republic? Like, is like Kraken like back on Coruscant or back on Yavin rather, or
It's just Yando Donna sitting in the Lusankya about to get a message that he's in charge.
just fucking fuming. He's like, "I really wanted to go to this party." He's like, "Sorry, if we all die."
Oh, did you see Michael Stackpole's tweet right before the
No, I
started?
didn't.
So
No.
he was looking for some of his old BattleTech stuff, but
Mhm.
instead he found a story he'd written about Suntir Fel that had never been released.
Ooh.
So maybe if we all
Did he publish? Did he post it?
no, but maybe if
Okay.
enough people ask, it'll be accidentally posted somewhere online. But
Yeah. Okay. Cool. I
But
feel like
yeah.
he might just do it anyway.
Yeah. But yeah, so they end up Luke and Leia get into another speeder to go and rescue Kate, and that's how they get into the facility that the Imperials have, the weapon facility.
I'm sorry. Can I just say, if my droid falls off the edge, I got zero hope that I can get out of my party, get in the speeder, and catch up to it before it falls.
Yeah,
like,
it was.
I'm just like gonna look over the edge and be like, "God damn!" Like, she was a good droid. Like, gonna have to go back to Tatooine, I guess.
But they catch her,
Mhm.
and they start getting shot at by the Imperials, whose facility they're right next to. Leia gets temporarily captured. Zorba, I think, arrests. So Lando is getting harassed by Zorba here because
He's
Zorba
lost
thinks
Cloud
his son still should own the casino.
I think he's right, to be fair.
Well, as much as anyone can legally own the entire planet, if we want to take that as a viable premise,
Well,
then yeah, there should be a.
No, but didn't he own the casino specifically in Cloud City? Like,
He did, but like then they do the Sabak game for ownership of like to be governor of the planet. So Lando loses because he doesn't think to check the cards that Zorba's insisting on using for fucking UV spectrum cheating. So he's not quite as good at security as he thought he was.
Mhm.
But this ends up with Ken going on a joyride in one of Han's many Jay Leno cars that he had that were getting ready for races that are coming up now for some reason. So Zorba has Ken. Trioculus ends up with Leia, and he like hits on her for a bit. But then they talk about maybe a trade could be made here.
Yeah. It's like, let me trade Ken for Leia because Zorba wants to kill Leia, and Triculus wants to fuck Ken. Oh no, I got that backwards. He wants to bang Leia. So they've reached an impasse.
Yeah, this doesn't end well for Trioculus. He ends up carbonated, which would have been, or sorry, carbonized, which I thought would have been funny as carbonated. But
yeah, I love how he doesn't say take him to the carbon freezing chamber. He's like, take him to the room where we freeze people in carbonite. Goddamn, this is a young reader's book.
look, you got to get the greatest hits in there.
But I mean, like, I just found it was funny. He literally says the room where we turn people or we freeze people in carbonite. It's like, can you imagine if like you described every room that way? Like, honey, can you put more toilet paper in the bathroom and like replace that with honey? Can you put more toilet paper in the room where I take monster dumps? Like,
yeah. Look, sometimes it's got to be as clear as possible.
Yeah.
But part of the reason that Han could never have gone to save any of these people, despite it being like a several hour wait for them to come back from what should have been just a catch and return, is because his beeper was off.
It happens though. It does happen. I'm not going to blame him for that.
Yeah. I really hope when our tech is at the level of Star Wars, we don't regress to beepers. Beepers were relevant for about 5 years.
Yeah. It's like pre-cell phone. You want to reach people. Smoke signals ain't working. Try the beeper. My dad had a beeper, I remember. Actually, my mom did too because she was a nurse.
I think my mom had one of those like mobile phones that was like a giant briefcase that'd sit in the back of your car and then you'd never use it. But
my dad didn't have that, but he did have a car phone before I was born.
That's what gave us cancer.
Yeah. And he had and gave you your fucked up taste in food. And he had like one of the very early blocky cell phones. Not like one of the briefcase ones, but one of the
Technology used to be shit is the point.
Yeah.
But they end up blowing up the Imperial weapons facility. Leia escapes.
Blows it up, doesn't he?
Yeah. Leia escapes. Everything ends up fine there. Well, Zorba thinks Leia exploded in the facility, so he's happy. Trioculus is frozen. He's going to be disowned by Supreme Prophet Kadan, so we're moving to the next phase of the Prophets of the Dark Side's plan. And beyond that, like, Han had a great party.
Yeah, so overall, pretty good day. Then, we get into the next book, and for one, like, how come the Essential Reader's Guide didn't have the scene of the stormtroopers bribing the Cloud City guards for the fucking carbonite block of Trioculus? Like, that's one top 10 iconic Star Wars Legends moments.
Yeah.
Agree or disagree?
No, that has to be up there.
Like, it's like right up there with dinner with the boys at the beginning of Legacy of the Force. Like, come on.
I know it's like a new canon book, but like battles that change the Star Wars galaxy, that bribery should have counted.
Hey, that book steals some of my stole one of my videos.
Yeah, I know. There was a lot of unknowing fan contributions to that book.
Yeah. I canonically designed the Imperial fleet deployments at Endor. Get over it.
Yeah.
And Alex did it for Jakku.
Well, at least you know your lore video is accurate now.
Guess we got to decide how many interdictors were at the Battle of Endor. Yeah, it's
highest value video you've done.
Yeah.
Well, what was it? Star Destroyer versus entire United States Navy, or
yeah, entire U.S. military specifically.
Okay.
I do that. I've done the same joke a million times, like about that video. Like the other day, it was like someone posted, like, "What did you accomplish?"
Yeah,
like this statue, like this man made this statue when he was 30. What have you done? And I put out U.S. military versus one Imperial Star Destroyer.
How many views that at? Like 5 mil, 6 mil?
No, not that much. I'd say like 1.5, maybe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Never mind then.
Yeah, it's kind of. Let's see. Yeah, not great. I don't even think it's my number one video. No, it's.
No, I feel like Battle of the Dreadnoughts.
It's got 2.5. It's got 2.5. Yeah, Battle of the Dreadnoughts has 5. I didn't realize that.
And it's like, if you just include all the videos that it's B-roll in, you're
Oh my god, best money I've ever spent. I've been using some of my drone footage for hockey videos, for B-roll, of Halifax. So
Do they let you get into games with the drone?
no, no. I bet you no.
Okay.
I'm trying to think if they would let me do something with it. I think if I asked, they would let me go in like on an off hour.
Yeah. Well, you've got your press accreditation for the what
Dude,
are
the
they
mascot
called?
shot a puck at me last game
That's not great.
accidentally. It was like, you know how like at hockey games, like at halftime, they'll do like, or at halftime, in between the periods, they'll have like little shows. It'll be like one time, it'll be like the kids playing hockey, and then they did this one where it was trying to it was who could get who could get dressed in hockey gear fastest and then shoot a puck in the net. You won something. So when Mac, who's one of the mascots, was clearing pucks off the ice, I was standing like down by the doors to the ice, and he flipped the puck up and hit me straight in the shin.
Huh,
And I was like,
well,
okay,
good.
that's totally my fault. I shouldn't have been sitting there.
Well, you know who else got a hockey puck shot at them?
Ooh.
Supreme Prophet Kadan. While he was talking to Jedgar about how they were not going to bother with Trioculus anymore. They wanted to have Trioculus shipped to them. That's why they were getting the stormtrooper bribed.
Mhm.
But they do end up sadly incinerating Trioculus. So that's the end of his story.
Which is
And
good because they immediately introduced Triclops, and it would have been even more confusing to have
yeah,
both of them.
so Triclops has been hidden away. All the Imperials are afraid that he's just too crazy. He'd ruin the Empire, even though he seems like a chill guy when we meet him at the end of this. But
Also,
the
I don't think that's the last time we'll see Trioculus, by the way.
no, he's gone. He exploded.
Okay. Okay.
But the plot we start off with Luke and Leia and them is they've heard that Kadan has been making some new prophecies, and these are very poetic. Uh,
Very epic.
his quatrains. Where is the? Here we go. This is what Snap, the New Republic, uh, intelligence program thing, hears. When the dragon pack, perched upon Yoda's stony back, receives a visitor pierced by gold, then come the last days of the Rebel Alliance. So my favorite
God
part of
damn.
this is how in this like 200 word book, they before the first quatrain, they make it very explicitly clear these are not supposed to rhyme. They're not bad. But then the first two lines in this one, uh, they make them rhyme.
Yeah. And then they just throw the last one in and just
Yeah.
yeah.
But now this is how we learn that the rebels have had a base on Dagobah. At least, like it's implicated as being from before Yoda's death because they say they renamed the mountain when Yoda died, but then the rebels would have had to
Yeah.
be there the entire time, which plays into the whole Yoda was always on Dagobah thing. Uh, but they at least have one there now. So
Mhm. Yeah, it's like the Rebel Alliance. They're like, okay, do we want to have our bases on well-defended worlds of strategic importance? It's like places where we've been before.
yeah, but we know now also that there's a booming population on Dagobah. There must be because there's the Dagobah Institute of Technology that
Yeah,
Ken is enrolling in.
yeah. It's a school. There's other kids there, which is like that's like I'd say the biggest theme of this book. Does school suck?
Yes.
Yes. The lesson is if you skip school, you get to fuck around and hang out with Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
Like, thank God I didn't get this book when I was a kid. Also, I'll be right back. I just heard something upstairs.
Okay.
Just continue talking.
Well, I'll continue talking while he's gone. But yeah, so they have Drop Hack or whatever it's called, which is the name of the base on Mount Yoda, formerly Mount Dagger. And so I guess they're making a whole Dagobah society. And the thing that I really don't get uh about the Lost City of the Jedi is they had a bunch of information that must have been from like where's their spy network from? Because it's all like contemporary information. It's not from before the city would be lost that Ken is studying. He knows who all these Imperials are. He knows how the Empire works. He knows like a bunch of shit about stuff that's going on in the galaxy at the time. So is Chip just like going out and doing studies all the time? I don't know. And X Chair isn't going to weigh in on that. But Luke is very insistent that Ken has to go back to school, even though it seems like he learned everything he could ever need to learn about the past, present, and future from the Lost City of the Jedi's
He literally knows
library.
more than every single other person.
If he just told Luke the things he knew, there would be no plot to worry about because he knows everything.
Yeah, like his secrets is like he had to watch like Sidious like laying the nuts to somebody.
You know. Did he watch the conception of Triclops?
Presumably with a woman with 4 eyes.
Yeah. Well,
I think
is
that's
that how that
works.
works? The average number of eyes. Was Triclops' mom a Tal's?
Don't only some towels have 4 eyes, right?
Well,
Don't.
then it was a 4-eyed Tal's.
Yeah.
Or that thing in the Mandalorian trailer. Is that where this is going? Is that how it connects to the... Did we ever see the back of Rey's dad's head? I know he's supposed to be a clone, but...
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
File that one away for the end of Mando Season 3. See if you can make out...
I feel like even if you did see the back of his head, you could just grow your hair over the eye, right?
Yeah. That's probably how this guy's been managing to stay on the down low. But apparently, this is when we're learning that Duro is turning into a pile of shit that no one's heard about for like 20 years, even though Duro is like a very major planet. They need to save it, and they do.
Well, they're not really saving the planet. They're like just saving a couple of fellas on the planet.
They're saving them from like further degradation by the Empire, who is just turning Duro into a toxic sludge dump.
I'm sorry, but if I'm Luke Skywalker, I'm going to really struggle to care about these problems. I got other things to do.
What do you mean? What else is he going to do? Send Ken to school? That's his only other problem.
Maybe train more Jedi.
Well, he's trying to. That's what Ken's for, ultimately.
You got to pick up at least 2 to go on these missions.
Well, we know he's still a good decade away from being able to get that many together. He's looking for all the potential students. Cal didn't give him the holocron.
That's like, it's like one planet in the galaxy. That's like Superman like taking a day out of his afternoon to like go clean up the local fucking Walmart parking lot.
But when the galaxy only has like 6 planets in it, and the Rebel High Command is all busy partying at Han's place.
Yeah, like based on how the Empire is described, they got like 1 strike cruiser. Well, they got 1 strike cruiser and like 1 facility. Like Luke could probably clean things up in like an afternoon.
Mm-hmm. Well, they do team up with Triclops, which is a very important thing for anyone to be able to do.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't knock that. And this book does kill off Hissa. So we're basically at the point where like the Central Committee is not really a factor anymore. It's Kadan that's running everything. He's taken all the power from Hissa, and him and Jedgar are the top dogs for the next 2 books. So
yeah,
they're the top dogs that are getting set up for the next 2 books. Who knows what's going to happen?
Yep. I don't know. It's the whole universe is there waiting for us.
Do you have anything else for Zorba or for Mount Yoda? I feel like this had less interesting stuff going on than
way less interesting. Did. Totally agree. In fact, this whole time, while I was reading it, I was just drawing the word Zorba on my tablet instead of taking notes when I was reading the book. So, yeah, never did get that A done. I was like, look at my notes. Like, okay, I got some stuff for the first one. Like, okay, some funny lines. Oh, like I meant to read the word lubricate my subatomic accelerator. I thought was kind of funny. Yeah.
Well, they did what they could.
The only big question left is what's Project Decoy?
Trioculate.
I guess we'll find out, won't we?
Maybe. Well, Let's take a look at a couple email questions for the week. We do have a fortnight appointment in about 15 minutes. So first email comes
My
from
battle
Mike.
pass has been acting up.
Oh, that's too bad.
Just doesn't get as rigid as it used to.
Oh no. Well, maybe you can help other people rigify their battle passes by answering this question from Mike, who says, "Why can't the Rangers just be bad and let the Devils enjoy their one good season in forever?"
The last time the Rangers and the Devils met in a really important game, it was, I believe, the 2012 Eastern Conference Finals. Winner goes on to Stanley Cup. Do you know what happened?
Toronto Maple Leafs won in a surprise turnaround season for them.
The Rangers lost. So the Devils, like, you know what? They're not even doing that well anymore. So,
Well, hopefully those little devils change their tune. Our next email comes from
also the
Hostile.
Devils lost in 2012 as well. So,
Oh, it's too bad. Next question comes from Hostile Nebula, who asks, "What do you think the future of Star Wars space battles is for movies and series, whether it be dogfights or capital ship battles? Do you think that with the reemergence of Thrawn we'll get more? And if so, how much are we going to see on the tactical side of the battles?"
probably not much. We never really get very much on the tactical side. I think we'll get so. I don't think we'll get it. I just don't think Mando is really doing capital ship battles. I mean, they could. Yeah. We've seen Star Destroyers, but
I think doing a full-on space battle beyond a dogfight in a TV show is probably going to be too much to ask, budget-wise.
I think they could maybe do one.
Yeah, as like a culmination thing in Ahsoka, maybe.
Yeah,
but I wouldn't expect it to be like a common thing we start seeing in these shows. Outside
I'm just trying to think, like, what's the most impressive, like, thing on that scale? Like, if I'm thinking of like the most impressive VFX moments in like Star Wars or Marvel TV shows, I gotta think number one might be the dragon in Mando season 2, episode 1. Yeah, so I feel like it's possible we get something, but yeah. I also don't think they're going to want to do it half-assed either, because like they could do it half-assed for sure, especially with like they've got a million ship. Like that's kind of the thing about the Battle of Exegol. They've got a million ship models that they can throw in to a battle, and probably some that we didn't even get a good look at. Especially like things like they've got like 10 new Mon Calamari cruiser variants that they could just throw in at any time.
Yeah.
But yeah.
You can have those in the background a lot easier than you can have like the VFX for an actual battle, though, because we know they're like breaking down a bunch of the Star Destroyer models in the trailer. So like we know the ships will be present in some form. It's just whether we'd be able to see them like actively shooting at stuff is the bigger question. But only time will tell.
Yeah, I do wonder whether we could maybe get something in Andor.
Yeah,
because I mean, obviously, Rogue Battle of Scarif is probably the best Star Wars space battle in terms of like being an actual battle, like not just like Endor is great because of all the ships, but like nothing actually happens. Whereas like Scarif has kind of a cadence to it. So Andor could be good, but kind of limited by like what the Rebels can do there.
Yeah, and you'd kind of expect that if Rogue Squadron gets made, as far as movies go, that would be pretty centric, like pretty battle centric.
Yeah, for sure.
But hopefully we'll find out sooner than later. Thank you, Hostile Nebula. Our final question for the week comes from Joel, who asks, "If Legends had continued, do you think they would have written a Marco Ragnos book, maybe a Plagueis-style novel tying in all the stories from Tales of the Jedi to Old Republic? Would you have been interested in that?"
Me, not really. Yeah, I don't think that was really high on their priority list, to be honest.
Yeah, I feel like... Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think they were more interested in Clone Wars era stuff and the later stuff than going back and kind of retreading that era, but I could be wrong.
Well, the thing with Ragnos is that he's so present throughout every era, but like most of those stories are kind of already told. I could see him maybe coming up in one of the books that like moves forward now that there's like the one Sith and everything, because I don't think his spirit was ever really destroyed. They just sent it back into the statue, and
So
that's never
Kyle
stopped
and
him before.
Jaden don't finish it off?
They just send him to get vacuumed back into his
I thought you were
thing.
going to say send him to get vaccinated for a second.
That was the problem with Marco Ragnos the whole time. He just wasn't vaccinated.
No, he was vaccinated.
But like, I don't know. Maybe I could potentially see there having been like a Golden Age of the Sith novel, maybe, but that would have been a rare thing. As far as something that covers all the eras, that just seems like more source book mentions that could have potentially been done rather than
like my thing is
book.
If they wanted to do old Sith stuff, I don't think they would have wanted to step. They would have wanted to tie in better with Old Republic.
Yeah.
And like that's clearly where people were most interested. So yeah.
And one of like, no authors tend to be that interested in being told like, here's a story where they have all of the beats already kind of set out for thousands of years. Do something with that. So unless it's one of the writers from the comics that handled it, like I feel like, and someone else would just be like, okay, what if I did the Sith story you want, but I made my own cool character, or took someone who we don't know the end of their story. Because I feel like just it's not particularly interesting for people to be super locked into what they have to do. But that's going to do it for our emails. Thank you, Joel. Thank you for watching, everyone. Thank you for listening. Anything you want to get out there to the world before we finish and go off to twitch.tv/CoreyLoses and youtube.com/ECKSTOO for Fortnite?
Sure. So I'm doing, I'm not doing, but I'm helping a fundraiser for a very small rink in Lang, Saskatchewan. You guys may have seen it. It went pretty viral on the internet. Basically, it's this rink that's almost 100 years old. It's very, very small. So small, in fact, that there's no room for dressing rooms on the ground floor. The dressing room for the players is on the second floor. The way you get down to the ice is on a weighted drawbridge that you step on, and it takes you down to the ice surface. There's a video of it on my hockey channel, ECK. And we've, not just me, but so far we've raised almost $8,000, which, for a rink, it's not like they get much government funding out there. It's a town of 200 people. So you can go check that out at ECK. And if you are in Saskatchewan, I did a radio interview, so you might hear me tomorrow if you're kind of in the area. It's on like 3 stations kind of around Lang. So you might hear that. Otherwise, you can check that out there. It's for a good cause. Yeah, that's all I got.
All right. Thanks again, everyone. Have a good week. No podcast next week or the week after. So more than a week. Have a good several
Possibly
weeks.
a week after. I'm not sure.
All right. We'll let everyone know in the usual ways. It'll be scheduled here. It'll be on Twitter. But yeah, until then.
We'll shout it into your ear when you're least expecting.